Hello, everyone, and welcome to GarageBand, my favorite part of the class. The first assignment I'm going to focus on is the one in which you use loops. So let's just jump in and get started. I'm going to talk you through some of the things that you're seeing here. This empty project option is what you'll use most of the time, but if you're working on something before, you can either go to Recent and click on Recent Projects, or if it's not one you've worked on recently, you can search for it down here. If you open with any of these other options, it just gives you some templates, but they're actually a bit cumbersome. I've explored them, but I've never actually used them because I thought they were the best option for a project. I think it's easier if you're recording keyboards to just search for the keyboard that you want, but that's what they are. If you click on this one, it automatically opens with a bunch of different keyboards. This one opens with a bunch of different amplifier settings. This one has different vocal tracks, and this one has a bunch of different electronic instruments that are commonly used in hip hop. But again, it's easy enough to just open these from an empty project. So for what you're expected to do, you'll always go to empty. So double click that. Okay. So then this screen pops up. For this one, these are software instruments. This means you're using the MIDI controller. These are both audio. For this one, you're using a microphone. For this one, you're using guitar. And this is to start with the virtual drummer. Few important things on here. This is what your instrument is connected with. Once the Scarlett Focusrites are all hooked up and working, you should see that there, but you don't have to worry about that just yet. Input 1, input 2, or stereo. We'll just leave this as input 1. This is if you want to hear it while you play. That's great. If you're recording guitar and you're using a built-in amplifier, you want to hear how that guitar sounds. Most people don't select this option though. We're not going to right now. So we've got audio selected. Sorry, software. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're working with loops, so any of these are fine. But create. All right, and it automatically gives us this track. And these green lines are the computer picking up my voice. So let's get started. This symbol here, it hides and reveals this where you can scroll through different instruments that you want. Click on it, that goes away and gives you more room to work. This question mark just kind of makes it so that when you move the cursor over something, it tells you what it is. It's helpful when you're getting started. This one right here gets rid of this screen at the bottom, which is just more controls. And of course, the scissors can be used for editing, but we'll talk about editing separately. So we'll just turn that back off. First thing you'll want to do is you'll want to set up your project again, because audio, which is blue, can't really be altered after it's recorded. Like, you can add to it, you can add reverb or delay or something, but you can't go in and like change the key, for example, or move notes around. On MIDI you can do those things, but not on audio. So it's really important that you just get this set up the way you want it right away. Let's go, I think this was right. Something like that. In 4/4, you can of course change that to any of these or a custom type signature. I'm going to go to 3/4. Oh, you know what? No, I'm going to go to 7/8. Why not? It's going to really limit the loops that fit that, but that's okay. This brings up a tuner for you to use. This is a count-in, which means it'll give you either 1 or 2 measures of clicks before it starts recording, but we're not going to be recording today, so that doesn't matter. This is a metronome, which is just a metronome. We'll turn both of those off because we're not going to use them. This here, if you click and drag that, it makes it this area larger or smaller. It's kind of like a zoom in button. This one here lets you add notes to your project. This is your media. So you would use that if you wanted to drag in audio or video from something else to work on. But we're focusing on this roller coaster looking loop, which is of course where the loops are. So for this project, you need to have at least three audio loops, at least 3 MIDI loops, at least 3 distinct virtual drumming styles, and it needs to be a rondo form with at least 4 sections. So I'm just gonna jump in and start putting things where I want them. So I'm gonna always drag something new down here to its own spot. Okay. Sure, why not? Um, get some bass and this beat. So I want all of these to be the same length. I mean, I might not, you might not, but let's say I do. I want them all to go the same. So if you drag the cursor to the top right corner, you can drag it and it'll continue to loop it. If you wanted to bring it in, like I don't want the drums to start right away, I could do that and say the drums come in there and say that this bass line, put it in the bottom left corner, bass line comes in with the drums, like that. And I can just say that that's my A section. So I'm going to click drag, Command copy, or Command C to copy, drag the playhead to wherever I want that. Actually, I'm going to make sure these are all and go up to this measure here. So I'm going to, there we go. Because they were all selected, I was able to click one and drag it, and it was able to drag the rest of them with it. So anyway, copy that, click here so the playhead's there. So that's my A section of my rondo. Now let's bring some more stuff in. If I want to audition something, I just click on it, and I can hear it. Let's say for my B section, it's going to be a handoff. The guitar is going to start, and then the piano is going to come in, but I want that beat to last the whole time. And let's say I want this one to also go to the end of the measure. Okay, so that's my B section. Click that, and then I still have my A section copied, so Command V to paste, and there we go. See how this sounds so far? That sounds terrible, but you get the idea. Just do a little bit of cleanup. If I click on this one, highlight it, push delete, and get rid of it because I'm not using it. Also, the tracks have that time length. I believe it's 2.5 minutes. So if you really just want to make that easier on yourself at this point, which is still pretty easy, you can just start making these a lot longer. Bring that all the way to there. Bring that here. And let's say you want this bass part to start, but then come back in later. Well, there are a few ways you could do it. One would be to click and then Command copy that, and then drag the playhead to wherever you want the bass to come back in. Paste it that way, so now you have this section that doesn't have bass and it comes back in. Another way to do it would be to just drag the bass throughout the whole section where you want it, and then drag the playhead and Command B is going to break it. So it split these into two separate pieces. Let's say this is what I wanted the other part to be. Command B, as in break, make sure it's highlighted. Then Command B. Oh, sorry, it's Command T for trim. On Pro Tools, it's B. On Logic, GarageBand, and MainStage, it's T for trim. So this is the part I don't want. So I just click on those and delete. And let's say I wanted to combine these. Doesn't really matter, but if I wanted to, I would hold Shift, click on both of them, Command J for join. Well, there you go. Down here, you have all sorts of different controls that you can mess with. Controls here, there's an EQ, so you could like isolate certain frequency ranges. This is pretty far from anything that we're going to do, especially at this point, but that's what these controls are for. Okay, and so you would just keep going with that. So now I'm going to bring in a virtual drummer. So for this part, you're going to go to a new track with a plus sign, virtual drummer, create. And again, you've got, excuse me, Kyle, Logan, Anders, Max, Jesse, Ian. And those are just the rock guys. We've got all sorts of other types of drummers. Dez, R&B, that's what Rose is. Songwriter, Levi. That sounds cool. Why not? So let's say we want to hire Levi. So I'm going to click on that, and the drums are up here. I'm going to click and drag it so it's at the bottom. Let's just hear what Levi sounds like. Spacebar is play and stop. And again, I can change the beat by going through and doing that. If I want to focus on one section, have it repeat and loop, there's this light gray bar. You click on that, and then on the right side, you can adjust the length, and you can just have it cycle through while you kind of mess with things down here, turning them on and off. Generally speaking, the more you drag these over, the more complicated these parts become. In this one, loud, soft, simple, complex, you can move those beats around. That plus sign gives me a new one, so actually I want to drag this back because I want this to end with the A section, and this is my new A section. Let's say I wanted this for my B section. Oh, one other thing with these loops. If you ever try to click and drag something, well, that's a bad example because it's working. Let's see, turn that off. There we go. If I click on the audio down here, right there, perfect. I've got that straight line, and I drag, and nothing happens, right? Well, that's because I need to grab the top. So just make sure you grab the top when you're adding material, but you grab the bottom or the top when you're removing material. And then for this drummer, I wanted this one to be completely different from Levi. Jesse, we'll go for biblical names. We've already got Levi. Here's Jesse. Do we have anyone else? Leah. All right, cool. Plus that one. And okay, well there we go. So that one's already on the B section. Now we probably would want to bring this one in so the A section was exactly the same, but let's just say for whatever reason we wanted the A section to be the same melodically, but like different rhythm. Just double click that, and then you can bring it up, and you can go to different types of drummer, or sorry, same drummer, different types of beats. Move that around as much as you want. So this one isn't complete, only in that I don't have enough material yet. I only have the A section, the B section, and sorry, the A section, the A section, B section, A section again. Oh, and that's the B section. Okay, so that got a little messed up there. But you understand the general way of inputting all these parts and bringing the loops in and everything. When you're ready to submit it, again, you want to submit it as an MP3. There are two ways to export music. Both of them are done up here at Share. If you go send to iTunes, it puts in your iTunes library, which is great, but it sets it up as an AAC file, which is much larger because it's sampled and quantized at a higher rate than the standard 44.1 kilohertz or 16-bit. And that's great. It gives you the best possible sound. But they're very large files and they're difficult to send. It's not that they're difficult to send. It's just that they take up more room. So an MP3 is fine for our purposes. So the easiest way to export this as an MP3 is to go down to Export Song to Disk. And now you can send it wherever you want, title it what you want, and set the format correctly, MP3. One other thing I want to point out is if you want to check to see if your song is long enough, up here, display mode, this arrow there, you click on that, you can go down to time. It tells me that I have 30 seconds. All right, well, I think that's all you need to know for this part of the project. Any questions, let me know.